Today's top stories. Millions joined the day-long Traslacion of the Black Nazarene to Quiapo Church. President Duterte has signed the Philippine HIV and AIDS Policy Act. A lawmaker calls on the government to push through with the increase in the salaries of government workers. And a soldier from Basilan who helped eliminate the leader of the Abu Sayyaf asks for help from the government.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Today marked another historical event for Filipino Catholics with this year's Traslacion. Millions marched in Manila to accompany the image of the Black Nazarene on its long march to the Quiapo Church. Benj Bondok reports.
At exactly 5 a.m. Wednesday, the Traslacion or transfer of the miraculous image of the Black Nazarene began its long procession from the Quirino Grandstand to the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene in Quiapo. Hours earlier, thousands of devotees prayed, heard Mass, kissed and knelt before the Black Nazarene, believing that reverence to Jesus through the image will grant miracles. The Black Nazarene was carried on its andas, accompanied by devotees clad in maroon who walked barefoot as both penance and in imitation of Jesus. Towels or handkerchiefs are hurled at Eos del Nazareno members with requests to wipe these on the statue in hopes that miraculous powers would rub off on the cloth and prayers would be granted. It is believed that the right shoulder side of the rope is the most sacred side, since this is the part where Jesus carried the cross. For those who could not join the procession, a total of 14 prayer stations were established within the procession route. The andas reached the Bonifacio Shrine around 8 in the morning. By noontime, thousands have clogged the Jones Bridge in anticipation for the passing of the Black Nazarene. At the Quirino Grandstand alone, the crowd is estimated to be at around 800,000, with the numbers swelling to millions before the Black Nazarene reaches Quiapo Church. Over 600 devotees have been given medical attention for various emergencies. Organizers of the annual church celebration projected the procession to last for some 20 hours, with the Black Nazarene possibly reaching the Quiapo Church after midnight. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
Malacanang thanked Quiapo Church Rector Monsignor Hernando Coronel for urging devotees of the Black Nazarene to pray for the country's leaders, including President Rodrigo Duterte. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo emphasized that church leaders should encourage everyone to pray for the president because his failure means failure of all Filipinos. Panelo made this remark as some 21 million devotees are expected to attend the Traslacion or the procession of the Black Nazarene from the Quirino Grandstand to the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene in Quiapo on Wednesday. The Quiapo Church Rector urged the public to pray for the president despite the latter's continuous tirades against the Catholic Church and its beliefs. Panelo says the president is simply seeking intellectual discourse by questioning the validity of certain doctrines in the religion. The government is expected to continue the implementation of salary increases of government employees for 2019 despite the reenacted budget. House Majority Leader Rolando Andaya Jr. insists the Department of Budget and Management has all the tools in pushing through with the salary increases this year. Andaya also appealed to President Rodrigo Duterte to remind Budget Secretary Benjamin Diokno to transmit all the documents needed to facilitate the release of salary hikes. He says the president needs to sign the pertinent documents in order to effect the releases by January 15. The fourth and last tranche of the salary standardization law has been deferred pending the approval of the proposed 2019 national budget. About 51 containers of garbage from South Korea are set to be re-exported from the Mindanao International Container Terminal on Sunday. The Eco Waste Coalition says the vessel that will bring back the garbage is arriving in Cagayan de Oro City on January 12. The ceremonial closing and loading of the last container will be held the next day. The bulk Korean garbage shipments have been at the compound of its consignee since they were intercepted. The shipload of garbage was misdeclared as plastic synthetic flakes and did not have prior import clearance. The Eco-Waste Coalition says the re-export should send a clear signal to rich countries not to use the Philippines as a dumping ground. Authorities identified the suspects behind the mall bombing in Cotabato City, and water supplies in Angat Dam are expected to hit critical level. More on these and other news around the metro from Rom Dulfo.
Authorities have identified the suspects behind the Cotabato City bombing attack, which killed 2 persons and wounded 34 others. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana pointed to persons with links to the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters or BIFF. He says investigators are trying to learn the motives for the attack. Meanwhile, the MMDA imposed a 25,000 peso fine against the MRT-7 contractor for causing a traffic gridlock along the Elliptical Road and North Avenue in Quezon City. The MMDA issued a notice of violation to EEI Corporation for failing to inform the agency that the construction would occupy 2 lanes for its excavation activities. The MMDA reminds private contractors to inform them of any change in their activities for the agency to implement traffic management plans. In other news, Angat Dam may dip to critical level early this year due to the possible onslaught of El Nino. In its latest available outlook, Pag-asa said El Nino is possible in early 2019. Angat Dam's current reserve is still enough to supply water for Metro Manila and some parts of Bulacan and Pampanga. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Still to come, President Duterte tells hotels near Manila Bay to install water treatment facilities and clean up their waste. The Department of Agriculture warns of a possible shortage in the supply of chicken. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues. The law establishes the Philippine National AIDS Council to ensure effective implementation of measures to stop the spread of HIV and AIDS. The Department of Health, or DOH, reports a total of 954 new HIV cases in September 2018, bringing the total number of HIV infections to 8,533 in the first 9 months of 2018. Nearly 60,000 HIV cases have been recorded in the Philippines since 1984. President Rodrigo Duterte asked hotels operating near Manila Bay to put up water treatment facilities or face closure. The president made this remark a day after Monday's cabinet meeting, where the proposal to use road users' tax to finance the cleanup of Manila Bay was raised. This is to ensure that there are enough water treatment facilities established in the area. He said he had already asked Environment Secretary Roy Cimatu and Interior Secretary Eduardo Año to spearhead the cleanup.
Kaya sabi ko kay Roy Cimatu, Jan Cimatu, pati si Jan Año, you start cleaning the Manila Bay. And it will be, they will start to clean it. whether they like it or not, lahat itong mga hotel, yung palabas na yung mga tae ng mga turista, kaya kung tae ng Pilipino po yan, kung tae ng kung sino-sino dyan, lagyan ninyong water treatment yung hotel nyo, pag hindi, sirahan ko yan. Huwag mo akong hamunin. Kaya kung wala tayong turista, di wala. Hindi naman tayo mamamatay. You do something about your waste there, or otherwise I will close it. Sigurado yan.
9 persons implicated in the killing of Ako Bicol Party List Representative Rodel Batocabe have been placed on the watch list of the Bureau of Immigration. DOJ issued an immigration lookout bulletin order against Daraga Mayor Carlwin Baldo and 8 others tagged in the killing of Ako Bicol Party List Representative Rodel Batocabe and his police escort. Apart from Baldo, other suspects on the immigration lookout are Emmanuel Rosilio, Jaywin Babor, Danilo Muela, Henry Yuson, Gilbert Concepcion, Agaton Concepcion, Christopher Cabrera Naval, Emmanuel Judavar. The lookout order is only intended to monitor the entry and exit of its subjects and not to prevent them from leaving the country. There is a looming shortage of chicken in the country due to an apparent disagreement among stakeholders on the price of the commodity. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol says this is brought about by disagreements in prices, which have led to losses among farmers. The DA chief says stakeholders and farmers should agree among themselves on the price of chicken to protect themselves. Prices of chicken have fallen to about 38 pesos in some areas. He says if the current situation continues, some of the small players might get out of the business and we might have shortage of chicken by second quarter of the year. Piñol says he ordered for a review of the volume of chicken being imported into the country, as this might be too much for the local market to absorb and could end up hurting the local poultry industry. A store in Bulacan is honored for its good practices. Meanwhile, priests in Cebu have a warning for politicians in the upcoming Fiesta Señor. More on these stories from the provinces from Janice Cabe.
In Bulacan, the Department of Trade and Industry has awarded its first Suking Tindahan seal to Bert and Marie Megastore in Maykawayan City. The store was hailed for selling basic and prime goods at suggested retail prices. The Suking Tindahan seal aims to provide adequate inventory and recognition to the various stores and groceries selling basic commodities within or lower than the suggested retail prices. In Cebu, the Agustinian Friars of the Basilica Minore del Santo Niño urged candidates in the upcoming midterm elections not to campaign or elicit votes during the Fiesta Señor celebration. The organizers of the feast have agreed not to give preference to VIPs, including politicians. The Basilica says candidates may instead donate to projects for the poor. The Fiesta Señor runs from January 17 to 20. Meanwhile, North Cotabato Governor Emilio Talino Mendoza condemned the assassination attempt against Libungan Town Mayor Christopher Cuan. According to Mendoza, the attempt still happened despite efforts for a peaceful and orderly Bangsamoro Organic Law plebiscite on January 21. She urged law enforcers to investigate and prosecute the perpetrators. Cuan was among the 23 local executives publicly named by President Rodrigo Duterte as narco-politicians. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, thousands join Cagayan de Oro's version of the Traslacion procession. A soldier from Basilan who helped eliminate the leader of the Abu Sayyaf asks for help from the government. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
The Department of Trade and Industry continues the distribution of sewing machines and stitching kits to the internally displaced persons and returned residents of Marawi City. Since October of 2018, DTI has already distributed a total of 1,800 sewing machines with 5,000 pesos worth of sewing kits, consists of needles, tailoring scissors, tape measures, threads, tailor's chalks, hand needles, and cloths. Salmia de Barosan is one of the beneficiaries received livelihood assistance from DTI.
Magpasalamat kami sa DTI kasi binigyan kami ng hanap buhay namin na mga magnanahi. Maraming salamat po sa DTI.
Di Barosan is a resident of Barangay Daguduban, which belongs to the most affected area during Marawi siege. She used to be a dressmaker back then before the siege happened. Di Barosan plans to start anew with the livelihood support she received from DTI. Meanwhile, DTI has already handed Carinderia starter kits, food carts, sari-sari store kits, and street food businesses for the Marawi residents as part of the rehabilitation and recovery efforts of the government for the war-torn city. For PNA Newsroom, Laid Kabagani, Philippine Information Agency.
Cagayan de Oro City held today its own version of the Manila Traslacion. Security was tight as about 250,000 devotees from Visayas and Mindanao joined the city's celebration of the Feast of the Black Nazarene. Cagayan de Oro Police says the increased attendance was due to previous successful events in the city with no untoward incidents and terrorist activity. 900 cops and about 500 barangay tanods were deployed to secure the Nazareno Church and the procession. Meanwhile, a 62-year-old devotee was reported to have fainted but was immediately attended to. This was the 10th year that Cagayan de Oro held a Traslacion when the Black Nazarene replica first arrived in 2009. In our foreign news, Jim Yong Kim has announced his resignation as World Bank president. Kim's resignation came unexpected as he was appointed to a second 5-year term as president in 2016. Kim has been with the World Bank for more than 6 years. He first became the 12th president of the World Bank on July 1st, 2012. Immediately after his departure, Kim will join a private firm and focus on increasing infrastructure investments in developing countries. World Bank CEO Kristalina Georgieva will assume the role of interim president effective February 1st. And in sports, the Philippine Azkals fell before the highly favored South Korean team on their first ever match in the AFC Asian Cup in Dubai. The Taeguk Warriors did not walk away unscathed, however, as the Azkals suppressed them long enough on defense to keep them goalless. Hwang Ui-jo scored the lone goal of the match in the 66th minute. Azkal star Steven Schrock says they are satisfied to have gone head-to-head with a much superior team. The Azkals will next face China on Friday. A soldier who was once hailed as a hero is asking for help from the government. Years after his extraordinary deed in Basilan, a crippling injury left him in need of some helping hands of his own. Janice Cave has the story.
The soldier who helped neutralize Abu Sayyaf leader Abdurrazzaq Abubakar Janjalani in 1998 is seeking help for his medical treatment. Retired Master Sergeant Jose Juanilio Tubil says he has difficulty sleeping due to pain from a gunshot wound in his spine. Tubil, a scout ranger at that time, guided the troops in 2 operations in February and December 1998 against Janjalani. Without waiting for orders from higher-ups, he reinforced members of the PNP in Tandong Ahas, Basilan who were overwhelmed with gunfire as they tried to arrest the Abu Sayyaf leader. Despite being wounded, he and his men defeated 50 bandits in an intense firefight. They would later on catch up with Janjalani in an operation that led to the bandit leader's death. Tubil was awarded the Distinguished Conduct Star for his deeds. He is called the Forgotten Hero of Lamitan, especially now that he is incapacitated after being ambushed by heavily armed men years ago. Tubil, who lives in Isabela, Basilan, has reached out to Undersecretary Joel Egco, Executive Director of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security, for assistance to come to Manila to seek treatment. Egco says he forwarded Tubil's request to the Armed Forces of the Philippines for proper action. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's top stories.
Millions joined the day-long Traslacion of the Black Nazarene to Quiapo Church. President Duterte has signed the Philippine HIV and AIDS Policy Act. A lawmaker calls on the government to push through with the increase in the salaries of government workers. And a soldier from Basilan who helped eliminate the leader of the Abu Sayyaf asks for help from the government.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.